Good afternoon. My name is Evodio Walle, Vice President of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and Chair of the Government Affairs Committee. I'm out here at City Hall with Dr. Harmesh Kumar, who is running for City Council. We're here to get the perspectives of the candidates and figure out what they feel this upcoming election has in store for us. So, Dr. Harmesh, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Evodio, and thank you for your chamber for meeting with me and reaching out to people, those who need to know what really is happening in our city.
Well, we certainly appreciate your time, and we want to give everyone out there in our audience in Contra Costa County, and in particular with the city of Concord, because that's in fact what the focus of this particular interview is what exactly the position for city council in Concord is calling for right now. And now, you recently have been involved in the primaries for the state assembly, and I get a sense that you've definitely kind of like feel a little battle hardened now, and yes, that there's a kind of a renewed sense of what the gauntlet is like when you're coming in outside of an established organization and trying to promote change in the county or within the city. So what can you tell us about this race here, and what do you feel needs the most attention right now in the city of Concord?
Yeah, Evodio, I wanted to share with you that I did serve 5 years on the Human Relations Commission with the city of Concord. I was commissioner for 5 years, then I was unanimously elected as the chair of the commission. Then another 5 years I served as Mayor Q, the Watchdog Finance Committee. We still have the funding coming from that Mayor Q committee, around $11 million a year. And our task was to oversee those funds if they are being spent on the promises which were made to the people of Concord. So there were some issues which I was able to bring it to the city council, how to deal with our unfunded liabilities and structural deficit, and they are working on those things now. But still, we have a lot of infrastructure needs which need to be taken care of in the city of Concord, and the innovation and the creativity which we need in the city, that we need to bring more. We have more diverse city, even though we are 105-plus-year-old city in the United States and California. Out of 105 years, we had not much representation for the minority community on the city council, and we have seen over the years. I have been here 25 plus years, and things have tremendously changed. The face of Concord has changed during last 25 years. It doesn't mean that all the minorities we're going to focus on, but they are human beings too. And recently we have a rental workshop in the city of Concord, and the rental workshop, they were questioned that 70% of the people have own their own homes, and whereas 30% of the people are rental people. They are renting their places here, and the rents are going up every month, and we need to do something for those people. If those renters are going up, means they cannot afford their rent, who is going to help us doing the kind of work we need those people for? They are working in the restaurant, they are working in the hotels, they are working in the fast food, they are also working in our other lower end jobs, and they are trying to make ends meet, and some of their family members cannot even make ends meet even with 2 jobs when these rent are going up on a monthly basis. I was also told during that interview that more than 2,000 of these, there are 8,866 apartment units which they were considering to have a rent control, and out of that there are 2,000 units owned by 2 companies only. We have too many companies like Donald Trump coming to the local areas, and 41% of our even grocery stores are owned by big corporations at local level. And we need to do something about that, bring more services. Every $100 you and me pay here in the city of Concord as a property tax, we get only $10 back, $90 taken by the state. So we really need to bring those funds to the city and find the mechanism and make the community aware of that how to sustain the services we have. Every time we're asking more money, more money, more money through different bonds, but we need to see how we're spending what we have. That's why I'm running, and the diverse community we have, we need to give some voice to those diverse communities.
Well, that's certainly a very clear and succinct overview of what you feel is going on in the county. So now, obviously, in order to enact, to put change into effect, there must be a level of experience or understanding of how the legislative process works, and how to actually put things into motion. And so, given what you're seeing in the county, well, what can you share about us that could help us understand what your specific approach would be to solving these challenges? Whether it comes from your professional background as you're in the social services, is that right?
I'm clinical neuropsychologist.
Clinical neuropsychologist. So clearly, there's quite a pretty high level of academic acumen there involved in what you're bringing to the table. So now, what about this aspect of running, city policy? And now you've been at this for quite some time, basically shaking the bushes and looking for the way into the system, because you feel that there is a real need to create change for the social good. So what's your approach like? What can you tell us about what you're going to do, let's say, the first 90 days or so?
You see, we have so many homeless people in our downtown area, and some of the small business owners are complaining. And also we see more downtown empty buildings and looking for business to come. And when we have those kind of homelessness issues and chronic homelessness issues, and people are really afraid to put kind of investment in those areas where they have chronic homelessness, and we need to do something which is more sustainable to create services for these chronically mentally disabled, and most of them, those who are homeless, they are also chronically mentally disabled. Last week, 3-4 days ago, we had I got one of my neighbor told me that there is a guy living in the car on the street, and she called the police, and police came and met with him. He's 69-year-old retired fire inspector from the Contra Costa County. He's a homeless guy. He's living in his car, and he got injured. He went to the hospital. They saw him for few half an hour or 2 hours. Then they told him to leave the hospital because they cannot accommodate his needs. He still have injury on his knee and some laceration on his arm, and he's in a lot of pain, but there is no services available for that, and the county system is so overwhelmed, and our the needs are so many, and they become very overwhelming for any one agency to take care of. So my agenda is to get the faith groups involved, get the private businesses involved, and we need to have, even though we have a director of economic development with the city of Concord, but his job is to bring new businesses. We need to have the same kind of focus. We need to create a director of human services for the people who will be, she or he will be able to coordinate these kind of services, so that people don't have to go one place to another place to find these. And for a person who is already anxious and overwhelmed, their attention span is so limited, and if you tell them go to this place, go to that place, go to this place, they cannot cope with it, and they end up in the emergencies, and we all end up paying more money for those services. So my thing is to create a structure which is more functional in a way that some of the funds we are spending, our priorities need to be changing too. Some of the funds, even though we do need our police force to bring safety and stability to the community, but some of the way we are even creating those kind of safety network, and even police officers, as President Obama said in his speech when he was in Dallas, that we are asking too much from the police officers. They are working as a social worker, they are working as counselor, they are working as paramedics, they are working as police officers. We're asking so many things from one police officer or one police force to do for us. And the system led to that. And we need to create some kind of sanity in the system that we cannot utilize these human beings as machines. And we need to treat them like human beings. The lack of trust between the police force and the community, what happened in Oakland, what is happening in Oakland right now, what is happening in San Francisco police force, and what is happening all over the nation. That lack of trust and this perception people have about the police force, we need to change those, and we need to create some kind of mechanism where police force will feel a little bit more empowered that they are part of the community, and then the community will feel a little bit more empowered that they are not being watched, they are not being harassed, they are not being kind of put into a place where they are being watched and under surveillance 24/7. So we need to create those kind of day-to-day things in our city. We don't have that kind of mechanism right now. When I talk to you about the priorities, we have this Concord Naval Weapon Station, and our former mayor and current city council member, he took $104,000 from the Lennar Group when they were trying to select the developer, and then they said, oh, when he found out, he gave $16,000 back. But that was an eyewash. We need people, those who are sincere, those who really want to bring positive changes to the community. And when you have the same kind of people doing same thing over and over and over again, and they are bringing their own cronies to the council to make the decisions for us, it doesn't work in the long run. Domestic violence happens only in the families. That's why we call it domestic violence.
That's certainly a very interesting perspective, Dr. Kumar. So what I'm understanding here is that you're seeing this as both a systemic and a social issue, and,
Yes.
and there's quite a bit of reconciling of these two in order to create something that works. Now, you've used the language before, village, to
Yep.
refer to how you kind of see some of these issues needing to be addressed. So with the way that you see the disparity between what is needed in the city and what we actually provide, and then all of these other systems that are already in place, what can you identify right now that you feel needs to be done differently, and what kind of fresh approach are you bringing to that problem solving opportunity?
You see, we have, in this country, we have become used to listening to people, those who say, oh, these people are poor because they want to be poor. They are lazy. They don't want to work. And I have seen so many people, those who are working 2 jobs, still they cannot rent a house. Still they are spending nights in their cars. Something is not working. All of us, including me, I pay around $1,612 some cents every month for my Kaiser health insurance premium. $1,600. It's a $10 an average per hour job one does, and his whole salary goes to the and then when you need a health services, you go and see a doctor, then you have to pay the co-payment. And all of us being robbed by the system we created. Initially, the system was created to help us, but now the system has become a liability. And people in the governance, they don't admit it. they are oblivious to this. That's why Donald Trump is gaining more recognition in the community, even though he doesn't provide anything with the way he talks. People think that he's talking for them. So we need to create this system where people's concerns are attended to, people feel that they are being listened to, people feel that they are being respected for their viewpoint. And right now the system we have, people don't feel that they are being respected, people don't feel that they are being listened to, and they are being told to go from one place to another to find that information. There is no specific city department for these, even though the social services arena is not part of the city, it is part of the state and county. But still, we could have an office for the Concord residents in the city, and we could have our own urgent care centers so that the city residents don't have to go out and to the emergency to get basic services when they need it. When 8 to 5, illness doesn't come 8 to 5. You know, some of the veterans have been complaining that they couldn't go to the hospital, in Veteran Administration Hospital, because they are closed on Saturday and Sunday. So does it mean that Saturday, Sunday people don't get sick? So that's the system we need to change and bring more services locally so that people don't have to go out even for basic services.
Well, thank you. That's certainly a very good direction that you've outlined, you know, what some of the things are and the general trajectory that progress needs to move in. So now kind of getting down to brass tacks, what specific changes or tweaks do you want to see in the current system or in the process in order to kind of kick off, you know, this change? What's going to be the catalyst as far as, you know, policy or procedure in order to make this stuff happen? Because we do have, in effect, we have a city council, you know, in place, and they, you know, surely must try to do the best to their ability to put the right policies in place. And so, given what you're seeing, what needs to be optimized in this process in order to make sure that people are heard and that the right policies are prioritized? Are we talking about a balance of certain things, or what are we talking about?
Yeah, we're talking about balance of certain things, and first of all, it is the balance of intention.
Okay.
Right now, I think the people we have, these 3 votes, we need to move anything, and they are the same people. They have the same thinking. There is no creativeness, there is no innovation the way they think, and they vote on the same way when they are not producing the proper results. And when another city council member came, and we see him, Ari Barsan, and he, every time something happens, he brings it to the city council's attention, and he's being kind of not paid attention to, and he's being ignored. And even when it was his turn to become the mayor or vice mayor, and they sidelined him. So those things we need to, first we need to be sincere and have the intention, pure intention that we really want to serve in a way which will bring more kind of quality services to the people at large, not to the few selective. And the process we have seen for the development, for the selection of the developer, the process we have seen from the some of the members, how they bring the services to the community. Last time when I ran for city council, it was with our current vice mayor, Ron Leone, and we had a candidate forum in the senior center. At that time, he said when he got re-elected, he will talk to the private business owners to provide transportation to our seniors. And at that time I told him, what is stopping you now? You're still a council member. Why can't you talk to them now? Nothing has happened. When the election comes, people make those kind of promises, and when they are gone, nothing happens. So we really need to work on this, that we really create the services for people, those who need us the most. Recently there was a lot of kind of embarrassment for the city that are retirees feeling that they are being abandoned. All the money they have paid into retirement funds, they think that the city want to take away their benefits when they are already retired, when they already voted for it, even though things are working out. But that perception that anything could happen, even to the retirees, those have put their whole years and whole life into working for the city and creating those benefits. So we really need to bring people, those who have focus and really want to serve the community, not serving the special interest groups. And right now, more focus is being on the special interest groups. You have to pay to play. That's the system we have, and we don't care about those people, those who are paying on a consistent basis through our property taxes, through our sale taxes, through our other business license when we do business here. They're already paying for it, and they are the one who are sustaining the system. But when the other people come and bring bags and bags of other resources, and some of our leaders just run to them, and we need to stop that. And we also need to create some kind of public funding election system, and we need to also create some kind of television or radio media for the residents of Concord, where they could listen to and have their voice heard. Right now there is too much bureaucracy in that.
That's very interesting. So what I'm hearing is, in general, bringing in some good blood to kind of dilute some of the bad blood that's in the system here, kind of a little infusion of compassion and awareness, and certainly the right intent, and the policies and the systemic improvements will follow when we have the right people in place, which is what sounds like kind of like a heart-driven leader type of approach that is really paying attention to the people and creating an infrastructure that listens and welcomes the change.
You just mentioned about policies and operational manual they create. And recently, it is also, if you read the transcript from the East Bay Times last Thursday, Eddie Burson's ballot for the elected mayor in the city, because he was bypassed, as I mentioned earlier. And that election of the mayor, we do need to have a independent mayor, so that these cronies which we are creating, and recently they have met behind closed doors and created this policy that they are going to promote one of their own member as a mayor, and that it needs 3 votes. If they are the same people with 3 votes, no new person could come. I'm sure they are not going to make me, if I get elected, they are going to not make me a mayor of the city, because they have 3 votes. So we need to have a direct election where the mayor could have really independent and people's voice into the city. Now, I see most of the times, I have another friend in other city who is a city council member. He was telling me, he's also a doctor like me, and he was telling me that, these bureaucrats in his city, the city manager and other people, they give you stack of paperwork Friday night, then they tell you on Monday you have to vote on it. And they bring and they put whatever they want in that paperwork. If you don't vote, then they'll say, oh, you are not voting. And the system makes these volunteer positions, city council member or volunteer, they don't get, it's not a full-time job for them. But these bureaucrats get hundreds and thousands of dollars every year in salary. And they are the one who created that language. They are the one who created these things. Somebody needs to have those eyes and ears, and somebody needs to cross those dots. Because system is so cleverly created by these bureaucrats and red tapes. and we need to take care of that. We need to bring the common person's agenda on the focus, not these bureaucrats' agenda on the focus.
That's interesting. So, to use the village metaphor, it sounds like the hen house has been left with the door open, and the
Yeah.
wolves are just kind of coming in.
That's what it is. That's what it is. One of the guru we had many initially, and he had used the analogies that was in 1400th century, and that analogy was that when the kings, those who are supposed to protect their subjects, when they become like lions and preying on innocent people, and then the people they hire to do their work, and they become like dogs, those who are preying for the prey. And that's what system has become. And we really need to create more humanistic. We have the funds available, but those funds are not, we have so many mandates. Even last time when I ran, one thing I want to share with you, they wanted to create a $75 parcel tax to fund the fire department. And being naive as I am, I raised this issue that we all are mandated to buy our home insurance policies. Every one of us, without regard, we are buying the homeowner insurance and paying on the average $700 to $1,000 every year premium to keep those homeowner insurance. Why don't we have those insurance companies to contribute at least $100 of that for the fire department? Because they are the one taking the premium. They should be able to protect us or protect the homes. Why can't they pay their share? They are only good for taking the premium. When it comes to delivering the services, it comes to people again. That you have to fund the fire department, you have to fund the police department, you have to fund the hospital. But when it comes to making money, all the profits are being taken by the corporations, and all the losses are going to the people. Something we need to change, because this system is not working.
Interesting. So it sounds like a lot of resources are being drained from the current, or through the current system, and there's, in general, a big need to have a more cyclical type of renewal that basically helps us all survive in this kind of an ecosystem type of a setting here, where we do need sustainability through our government practices, our policies, our fiscal policies, and so you want to see, it sounds like, a little bit more reinvestment, just cleaner approaches to how the funds are being spent across all these different programs, and better intent.
Better intent. You must have listened to the Republican convention in Cleveland last week, and last week we have Democratic convention in Philadelphia. In the Republican convention, one of the things they keep talking about, that we are the nation of God-fearing people. We promote the God-given potential in human beings. When it is God-given potential in human beings, then why do we restrain it? And why do we give only those potential avenues to people with only top-notch resources? Why not to common people? During last, I was listening to some of the statistics that during last, since 1970, the gap between people, those who have the resources and those who don't have the resources, has gone 200 or more percent bigger since 1970. How did it happen? Because the policies and procedures created by these so-called clever attorneys and clever city managers, clever city council members, some of the city council members don't even know that they are signing on to some things which are not going to help community in the long run. And they only find out after 5 years when they are no more city council member. We need to have the real discussion with the people, and we need to have, if I get elected, I want to make sure that every week I have 1 or 2 hours a public forum for the community to come and raise their concerns. And we need to listen to these people. Based on that listening, then we need to decide where our funds need to go. Right now, public is being told, oh, we need to do this thing. And they are feeling left out, left and right. So when we are talking about God's creation, we know that none of us going to live in this world forever. There are thousands of millions of people came before us. They built their palaces. They are gone. Our palaces are gone. The only people those are being remembered today, even after centuries, like Jesus Christ, those who created something for others. And that's what we need to have that focus. Even we heard a lot of good things in both the conventions, but I felt more at ease with the Democratic Convention what we had there. And so whatever things they talk, let's make put some juice into it. And that's what I wanted to bring. You know, they talked about starting a pilot program in the city council to build a 640 square foot unit, in-law unit in single family homes. And when they were doing this, just to connect to the city water, you have your existing home already, and you have the connection to the existing home already from the water district. And just to connect it to the back unit, it's going to cost family members $16,000 just to connect the water connection. When you have to buy a pipe, you have to get a plumber. Plumber may charge $200 for an hour, and the material is not more than $100. It shouldn't cost more than $500 to connect that little pipe. But they want $16,000 in the connecting fee. Isn't that like a mafia? That when you have the power, let's suck as much blood from the common people as you can. $16,000. And then to get the permit from the city will cost you additional $20,000. $36,000 to build 640 square foot in-law unit. And then they say, we're trying to create this program. But they are initially putting change on people's resources, and then they ask them, why don't you move?
Well, thank you for sharing that perspective, Dr. Kumar. So certainly, as we can see here, you're kind of getting closer and closer to the whole, crux of the problem. And so I certainly have seen you gain some traction, during the course of all these, attempts to run for office. And so can you tell us more about what sort of traction you've been seeing out there in terms of the votes that you've been garnering, or how is it going for you? I mean, we have 2 seats that are available here in the upcoming city council election in November. So what do you expect the outcome to be?
No, I think this time people have known me over last more than 10 years now, what I have done. And for last 20 plus years being in Concord, I have provided services for people, those who need us the most. And I'm providing housing for people, those who are cannot afford the housing. And even though sometimes it becomes very difficult to sustain those services because of the lack of funding, for $33 per day, when you have to provide 3 meals a day, 24/7 supervision, and then on top of that we have to get the liability insurance, workman comp insurance, state supervisory agencies. We have to have the licenses from the city, from the county, from the state, and all those things with $33 an hour. You can't even get a motel in the Bay Area for less than $80 per day, and there is no supervision required there. People come, eat and sleep, and then they go next morning. Here we have to provide, and the system is set up to fail people, those who are really providing social services. We need to create a system which is more sustainable for the people, those who need these services, not the system that make it so overwhelming for people that they are collapsing, and the system is collapsing right now. It's a question of time only when we're going to have chaos on our hands, and we need to prevent that. And that's why I'm running for this. Last time I ran for Central Committee, and I was only short 25 votes. And we had the thing in the East Bay Times that 118 votes, the registrar of the county acknowledged that 180 votes was duplicate vote. When I asked that maybe we need to have a recounting done so that those 25 votes which I'm short, I may get those 25 votes. But I was told that I have to deposit more than $11,000 to the county to get the recounting done. Mm-hmm. It was not my fault that I put 118 votes duplicate. Mm-hmm. So I was told that ultimately it's not going to be enough votes because they were all over the county. How do we know until we recount them?
Well, Dr. Kumar, I want to thank you for coming out here and sharing your perspective with the Hispanic Chamber today. So, as you all know, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization, and our Government Affairs Committee is dedicated to helping the candidates get their messages out there into the Contra Costa community. And given that these elections are coming up here pretty soon in November, we're going to be seeing a lot more of these interviews coming out with the rest of the candidates. So. We welcome you to tune in and watch what everyone is bringing to the table. And I want to thank you again, Dr. Kumar, for coming out here.
Thank you, Evodio. Thank you for your time. And I want to thank once again the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce for bringing our voice to the community.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.